know what? You might as well just call me Goonstradamus. No, I'm not kidding. You see, it turns out as I was watching Gamescom yesterday on the opening night live show hosted by your very own Dorito Pope King Jeff Keighley, a couple of things hit me like a sack of bricks. And one of those things specifically is I basically figured out what the entire problem is with the gaming industry right now. You see, the gaming industry has a ton of problems. There are quite a few. Everything from trying to sell you less products for more money, charging you more money overall, increasing the cost of video games, microtransactions, battle passes, you name it. But the one problem that I was able to pinpoint yesterday as I was watching every single trailer happen across my eyes was this: the games industry has zero aura. I mean, really think about it. Lean back in your chair and think about it. When was the last time you were actually impressed with a trailer of a video game? I mean, truly impressed, wanted to go out and buy that game. For me, it was Doom the Dark Ages and Doom Eternal. It was also Expedition 33, but it wasn't because of the graphics. It was because those trailers were able to present something to me that I never knew I actually wanted, that I never thought about having in the first place, or they had a style all to their own. When you see a trailer from Kojima, you know it's a trailer from Kojima. When you see Platinum Games come on that screen, you know exactly what kind of game you're going to get. And the problem with today's games, especially with the fact that there are so many kinds of games and so many developers and publishers, is none of them stand out from the pack. And I've heard all kinds of excuses about why this is happening. People are saying it's due to lack of exclusives and how exclusivity is the real reason why we're not getting any more creative games. And in fact, I'm going to prove that wrong with today's video. You see, on Twitter, friend of the channel Gaz quote tweeted Colt Eastwood talking about exclusivity. And here's what he had to say. Gaz says, "No, they won't. Exclusivity has long been the driver for increased competition between platforms, galvanizing all parties to compete on several levels. In the short term, more gamers get access to more titles, but it is not a coincidence that the AAA space is so flaccid right now." And I completely 100% disagree with that statement altogether. Even if we had pure exclusivity like we had back in the 90s and 2000s, we still wouldn't be getting the kinds of games that we actually want to play. Go back and look at the list of games from 1998. Do it. I dare you. Do it. Do it. Look at those games from 1998 and then look at the games you have now, and you tell me the kind of quality you were getting back in those days compared to what you have right now, or the breadth and the depth of those games, or the massive Game of the Year contenders that came out in that 1 year compared to where things are right now. I have to say it, and I'm going to say it right now. The last great generation of video games was the Xbox 360 and PS3 generation. Everything after that has been the same boring, bland, AAA movie, cover-based action-adventure game with stealth elements slop that we've been seeing consistently. Or it's been a game trying to emulate everything that Fortnite does, trying to make everything purple, yellow, colorful, and make everybody just vomit all over the screen. Hello, Call of Duty. And I know some of the arguments that are going to be made in the comment section. Alex, you're not looking at indie games. You're only looking at AAA games. You're only looking at this kind of section. And yes, you're totally right. There are indie games. There are AA games. But that still doesn't defeat my original point. Many of these games and many of these trailers that are trying to entice you, the player, to play those games or even buy them have zero aura. In fact, I even quote tweeted Gaz and said this: "The AAA space isn't flaccid because of a lack of exclusivity. It's in a terrible state due to the game budget size and the limited amount of risk publishers are willing to take. Exclusivity does not solve that problem." And I'm not going to sit here and toot my own horn, but toot toot, my boy, I think I'm 100% correct, because when you look and see the games coming out from Gamescom, honestly, one of the few games I was actually impressed with that I really wanted to play was called Densha Attack. Yeah, a game about a train that has a crazy art style that you do tricks and fight monsters on while you're on its actual tracks. And the soundtrack was pretty bitchin', if I say so myself. That game completely caught me off guard. It felt like it was a mix of Cluster Truck, Jet Set Radio, and everything else put together with Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, all in between a Katamari Damacy kind of thing, all wrapped up into one. That was cool. And you know what else was cool as shit? That Lego Batman game. Hell yeah, boy! That looked dope as hell. The fact that I'm sitting there thinking about like, wow, Lego Batman in a game about a train on a track doing tricks. Those are the two big ones that I'm really looking at here. I'm pretty tired of Call of Duty. Maybe Call of Duty 7 coming out, more Black Ops as well. Yeah, that's going to be a fucking no-brainer to not even play or pick up. And every other single game basically being the same Asian style anime inspired Souls-like combat kind of game where you don't even know what the hell's even going on because you're not actually having real gameplay. You're just getting a cinematic of a boss fight and you're like, I guess that's kind of cool. I don't know, maybe. And I'm not the only one that thinks that. In fact, JuniB on Twitter said this: modern game devs having to pick between making a medieval Souls-like or a neo-futuristic shooter. Hashtag Gamescom 2025. And JuniB's actually 100% correct. When we go back and go through the list of games, except for the pre-show, which honestly, I felt the pre-show was better than the main show. Let's not even get started about the whole like political thing that we're throwing in there, by the way. I don't know why they would even do that. Jeff, fix your problems. They're a real big issue, by the way. Everything else was exactly that. Another Souls-like kind of game that was either medieval or at the same time, another futuristic shooter. Yeah, NCSoft, we get it. You want to do microtransactions all day long. But seeing these reactions to opening night live and Gamescom really were pretty funny to see. Some were a little bit more critical than others, but check this out. RGT85 said this: I think I'd rather be watching the DSP stream than this Gamescom opening night live. And Synth Potato, who I honestly do not agree with all the time, also said this as well. The Gamescom's pacing has been super bad, spending way too long on generally uninteresting things and not just moving the show forward, hoping it gets better in the second hour. Honestly, Synth Potato, guess what? It didn't. It really did not get better in the second hour. In fact, I think that's when things got worse overall. And like I said before, the pre-show seemed to be what had the actual better games. I don't know really what's happening, whether it's just my taste changing or the fact that the gaming industry is trying to make everybody happy with one kind of game and make one kind of platform, but I think that may be the key. But when you see the difference, it definitely will pretty much shock you. Hazardor Gaming on Twitter was able to get some really great screenshots and show what was going on, but here's what we saw on the pre-show. Bubsy 4D, Densha Attack, Outlaws Remastered, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. All these games actually looked really fucking cool. I was kind of impressed. Long Gone actually looks really good. Valor Mortis looked fantastic as well. PVKK really wasn't my style. It seemed more like a Papers, Please, but with military grade stuff in the between, so maybe some people will dig that. Absolem looked pretty good. 2D side-scroller beat 'em up with the frog. Not too bad. Routine, I don't know, looked pretty mid as a horror game. Road Kings, of course, was a truck driving game, which was trying to make itself look cool. I don't know how you would do that, but I guess the Euro boys over there love driving trucks. Pac-Man and Sonic Racing, I guess, is a thing too. I'm not a Sonic guy myself, so I really couldn't say. Swords and Legends is, of course, that Dark Souls style influence that we're seeing so often, with so many games trying to emulate that as well. And then in the main show, you had things like Lords of the Fallen 2, Call of Duty Black Ops 7, the Sekiro anime, which was leaked, but I don't know why you would put that in Gamescom. It's an anime. That should be like something else, but that's just me. That's a really big problem with the show in general. And then, of course, the Lego Batman, which honestly looked very kick-ass, if you don't mind me asking. It was almost like, oh, you guys don't want to do the Arkham Batman games anymore? Don't worry. We're going to take care of that for you. Warhammer Dawn of War 4, hell yeah, finally we're getting some good Warhammer back. We had a crossover between Monster Hunter Wilds and Final Fantasy XIV, which has been pretty big, but we'll talk about crossovers in a second, don't you worry. Onimusha Way of the Sword looked pretty good, but again, also very similar to what we saw with the Dark Souls kind of influence and inspiring with the combat. Enfield, another mobile slop gotcha game. You gotta love them because they all look the same. They always tend to do, with that same anime style as well, but of course, hey, that's how things got to go. I guess Jeff Keighley's got to pay the bills. Europa V Universalis was there as well. I've never been a Europa fan player, but I can see why people would like it. Daemon X Machina was there too. Voidbreaker looked pretty sick. If you go on Steam right now, there's a double pack between that and Trepang 2, so I definitely would check those out as well. And of course, Indiana Jones getting DLC. Now, Zero Parades or Zero Paradise, I'm guessing that's how you say it, that was from the same studio that made Disco Elysium. The problem is they fired everybody who made Disco Elysium, and they're trying to make another game behind it. Nobody was actually pretty happy about that at all. Death by Scrolling, honestly, didn't even want to look at it. It just didn't even capture me at all in any way. Also, gotta love a World of Tanks game, because you know more microtransaction garbage is going to be implemented in this thing too, so get ready for another one of those as well. NTE, more gotcha, gotta love that one. Unbeatable, that looked, I guess, pretty okay. Horror Kings World, didn't really get behind that either, as well as Ninja Gaiden 4. Now that, that looks better every time I see it. And when you talk about aura, that's the one that has the aura, my boy. You know it's a Platinum game, you know it's a Ninja Gaiden game, and you know it's going to be sick as fuck. And I think that's exactly what all these other trailers are truly missing. You've got Cinder City, which I wasn't even interested in at all. You've got Time Takers. Yeah, NC Soft back at it again. More Silent Hill 4, which looked pretty good too. And then Divina Commedia, which I thought looked kind of okay, but I didn't really get too involved into it. Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2, where did you come from out of nowhere coming out this year as well? What the hell's going on? Moonlighter 2, which I heard had a lot of people enjoy the first one, which is pretty good. The Seven Deadly Sins, was not interested in that at all. It actually looked more like a gacha game. And then, of course, Chronos looked really good. But I'm wondering how much they paid for that dude in the suit to show up on screen and do that whole thing for about 2 seconds to then disappear afterwards. An expansion for Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 looks pretty good. Spectrum was all right. And then we had Heat, another World of Tanks game. More microtransaction garbage slop. And then, of course, Ghosts of Yotei got Legends announced for that game as well. And then finally, we had Resident Evil 9, which looked really good in the trailer, kind of hyper-realistic. I don't really know if I kind of like that style, but I'm more of a fan of the original Resident Evils 1 and 2 specifically, more so than the newer stuff, so I guess you could kind of attribute that to that as well. You also had the new Black Myth Wukong game. Now, putting all of that together, you can clearly see that many of those games could in fact be pretty good. They may be better later on once they release, or their gameplay may in fact be better, but the problem is there was nothing really to stand out between them and the other people in the pack. They kind of all like blended together and melded into like one weird coalesced soup where nobody wants to take a risk anymore. Besides Ninja Gaiden 4, besides Lego Batman, besides Densha Attack, nothing really stood out to me as like, I gotta play this, because everything just kind of like felt the same. Everything was either another third-person cover-based shooter or another Dark Souls kind of style-inspired game or an anime or a TV show or things that like nobody really even enjoys or wants to play. This show honestly feels more like it's for the most casual of casual audience members, where back in the day you would look at things like an E3 or anything else and you would be like, this is for people who play fucking video games. I mean, look at The Last of Us when it was first announced. The way they showed that game on the stage. Hell, the meme came out about it from the guy actually playing it live. Check that shit out. That is fucking aura. That's cool, man. Like, that's the kind of stuff you want to see. When Halo 2 was announced and they showed that, even though that entire thing was fake, and you should check out the documentary about that, which is kind of funny, and they showed everything happening as well. When you see things like when Doom 2016 was announced and how they showed that, when all these other games were announced and they had way better experiences and way better ways of capturing the audience in the first place to get them excited about a video game. And I don't mean like the fake excitement that people get when you're at a Bethesda E3 show and you got that one girl going, woo, in the background for every announcement. No, we're talking about like actual excitement over a video game. That's what people want to see. That's what people want to have in the first place. But they don't have that. I feel like the marketing campaigns, the people doing the marketing behind these games, don't know what they're doing or don't understand gamers in the first place. Or the only game they've ever played has been something like Fortnite or even just Elden Ring. I mean, look at Jeff Keighley's own tweet talking about his own opening night live. How would you grade Gamescom opening night live? A, 15%, B, 34%, C, 27%, and my own choice, D, 22%. The spread between B and D is not that great. It's pretty mixed overall. I think out of a 5-star rating, you give it like a 3, maybe 3.5 if you're a Black Myth Wukong fan. But I think that's still a real problem overall. Jeff Keighley's idea of an award show is far too heavy on things like TV shows, propaganda that's political in some weird fucking way that nobody really wants to have in the first place, or things that just don't fit in the space overall. Hell, this was actually my favorite tweet from the entire thread. The best part was in chat when you were talking about how much Call of Duty is a success this year, and everyone was simply just spamming L's all across the actual screen. And I think the real funny part about all of that is directly in the beginning of the show, Jeff Keighley was talking about a little game called Peak. I don't know if you've heard about it or not. It's a simple game where you and 4 of your friends try to climb a mountain peak. And honestly, it's one of the funnest things ever. We stream it every couple of Fridays on another channel that we have called the Salt Shakers. Check it out in the description down below. But the thing is though, that game, that little game that was an indie game by a couple of people that was more gameplay focused and graphics focused, sold over 10 million copies in an incredibly short amount of time. 10 million copies by a small dev team of a few people going around and making a fantastic game. And if you don't believe me, Landfall Studios that made Peak only consists of 12 people, and they made so many sales because they just kept making good game after good game after good game. And the more you see it and the more you realize it, the more you start to see that, hey, the problem with AAA gaming isn't the fact that they're doing all these other things. It's not like Mawoke, it's not Magoon. The problem with AAA gaming is they don't take risks. And that's what I'm talking about with this entire video and why Opening Night Live really just opened my eyes, basically. The problem with AAA gaming isn't just, now this is in addition to, by the way, the microtransactions, the actual amount of trying to go ahead and screw you for every dollar that you possibly can, charging you more money, battle passes, everything else under the sun, lack of ownership in video games. It's all those things. But the real problem, the real issue is that nobody has any more original or creative ideas. And AAA gaming itself lacks the one thing that all the kids say nowadays that they're trying to farm, and that is called aura. You see, nobody's doing anything cool. No one's doing anything different. No one is making you get out of your chair and say, hey, that looks awesome. Because if they show a trailer that is just cinematic gameplay, nobody actually cares. Do I care about the new WoW expansion? Yeah, I kind of do. Did I want to see that cinematic trailer? No, I didn't. Well, it was better than the other trailer that we saw from World of Warcraft recently. But the thing is, I want to see what's different about that. And honestly, that trailer should have been saved for BlizzCon because clearly that wasn't the audience for that expansion in the first place. These developers, these game studios, these publishers need to understand one thing and one thing only. If you try to follow the pack, you're going to get left behind because there's always going to be somebody else subverting all the expectations. That's how we got Fortnite, believe it or not. That's how we got Battle Royales, believe it or not, because they knew what they were doing wasn't working and they went in an entirely different direction. That's how Dark Souls and Elden Ring got so big because they did something different that nobody else was doing. Now, instead of just actually taking ideas and inspiration, people are just trying to copy that directly. And then by doing so, they're just making bland copy after bland copy after bland copy after bland copy. Hell, in my opinion, the best way to play a Souls game is only from Software because at least they do different things with their Souls-like formulas. Bloodborne is incredibly different from Dark Souls, which is super different from Sekiro, which is very different from Elden Ring. All these things are different, even though they are a Souls-born game. That's the kind of thing we're talking about. That's what's needed. When you saw Elden Ring for the first time, you shat your pants. When you saw Expedition 33, you were like, holy shit, they did it. When you saw Doom Eternal, you were like, Jesus Christ, this thing's on steroids. That's what people want. They want new experiences. They want something new. That's why every game show is like, boring, I guess, kind of cool, I guess, maybe, I guess, I don't know. Mid? That's exactly what it is. Everyone's trying to do the same thing and ride the money train. Instead of trying to do something different, blaze a new trail, take some kind of risk, and then do the right thing by enticing you to enjoy video games again. That's why I was so pumped about Expedition 33. That's why E33 and Baldur's Gate 3 are like tied for my game of the generation, because those games like blew my fucking mind. They were amazing for what they did, not only by gameplay wise, story wise, visually, everything. And E33 used Unreal Engine 5, which I personally cannot stand because every game looks the same. Every game has that ultra realistic vibe to it. Maybe stop doing that. Maybe hire some artists. Maybe do something different with style. That's what's missing. That's why Densha Attack was so eye-grabbing to me. That's why when everybody saw Cuphead for the first time in a sizzle reel, the entire internet stopped and said, hey, wait, what was that? We need to find out more. And that's what I'm talking about. There aren't any more of those moments right now. The industry is so bloated, so big, that even if exclusives were still around, we still had the same slop that we've been given over and over again, because they're just trying to chase the buck. And unfortunately, the only way this is going to get better is when these trends have to stop and these developers and publishers say, what can we do different to really blaze a trail? We saw it happen with Baldur's Gate 3, where every dev and every publisher was shitting their pants saying it's impossible to make this kind of game, when they turn around and they actually did it with a smaller studio better than anybody else. It's the same way that E33 stopped every developer and publisher saying, how did they do this when it was just 30 baguettes in a shack making one of the best French RPGs you've honestly ever seen? Or when you saw Doom 2016 and you were like, oh my God, they captured Doom in the essence of what it is on a modern shooter and made it applicable to today and still made it like the classic Doom games. That was amazing. That's what people want. They want new experiences. You can take inspiration, you can take ideas and make them your own and twist them into new, different kinds of ways. But to simply do the same basic copy medieval Souls-like game with the same combat and the same futuristic military shooter, another battle royale added to the mix. Oh God, I just want to I just can't stand it, bro. That's what I get so angry about gaming. That's why I stick to like ARPGs and Path of Exile and Last Epoch and so many others. It's one kind of genre, but each one of those games in that genre are vastly different from each other. And people wonder why Fortnite is the only game that people are playing right now, or Madden or NBA 2K and everything else, because all we get right now is the same old slot that we've been getting for the last 10 years. Go back, I mean really go back and look at the PS1 and PS2 catalog of games. It doesn't matter what kind of game you had or what kind of genre you were looking into, you had at least 4 or 5 different variations of games in that genre that were all vastly different from each other. And that's what we need right now. Variety is the spice of life, and right now we're being served only 3 kinds of spices. And baby, I'm looking for some paprika, if you know what I'm talking about. But you know what? That's just my hot take on the whole thing. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments section down below. Were you excited about Opening Night Live? Are you happy about some games? Or are you like me, a jaded old man with too much gray in his hair? Now, if you want to see more of this kind of content, more gaming hot takes like this, more gaming news, PC port reviews, Steam Deck videos, fanboy content, and live streams every Saturday night, 8:45 p.m. Eastern, subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 90,000 subs, and I just want to say thank you guys so very much. If you want Discord access or most during live streams, become a YouTube member. It's as low as $1. If you don't want to spend the buck, don't sweat it. Just come on down Saturday nights, 8:45 p.m. Eastern. Trust me, it's a hell of a live show, as around 800 to 900 people insult me with AITTS. No, I'm not kidding, while I also wear a banana suit. With all that being said, though, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you have a great one, and I'll see you gooners next time. Peace!